Cool. All right. Well, I think we've just hit 10 o'clock, so let's get started. So welcome everybody. I'll be your host for this series. My name is Robert Tadros, and I'm the CEO and founder of Impressive Digital. If you don't know who we are, I'm not going to bore you too much with the nitty gritty, but we're essentially a performance media agency based in Melbourne. You can jump on our website and check out who we are. It's www.impressive.com.au. I've got two beautiful guests with me today. Our very own Sam McKero, who is our strategy director and has actually recently turned 3 at Impressive, part of the furniture now. So we're having a chat the other day. Sam and I said, congratulations for making it through to 3 years. And I think your comments were congratulations for keeping me for 3 years. So, so it's good to have you, mate. And it's definitely been
double positive. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Been a bit of a bumpy ride, especially in the last couple of weeks, but it's definitely been an exciting one. And Alisha, Alisha's probably, Alisha, how long have you been with us now? 3 months?
3 months, yeah.
Yeah, about 3 months. You've been absolutely kicking ass and kicking goals. So welcome to the team, and you're part of the client services team. So I won't steal your thunder for both of you. I'll do a little bit of an intro, and then I'll hand over to you guys to do a bit more of a deep dive. So look, let's get into it. This is pretty informal, guys. It's a bit of a chat for all our listeners and our viewers. We're here to talk about, I guess, well, look, I'll start us off with the big elephant in the room. COVID-19. No one likes to talk about it, but the reality is it's here. And as I've mentioned on a number of podcasts that I've been involved in and a couple of webinars, is look, it's drastically shifting the world's buying habits, right? Most businesses, they're rapidly adjusting to the new pandemic. A lot of retailers, as we've seen recently in the news, are all shutting down. Consumer confidence is dropping. It's just causing a bit of havoc. But there are some positives in it as well. And I've definitely seen just firsthand with some of our clients, especially in the e-commerce space, that are absolutely started to skyrocket. So this is a 4-part series. We will talk about this particular, a number of different topics. This is the first one around proactive marketing in tough times. And guys, I guess just get straight into it. So Sam, do you want to give us a bit of a rundown, mate, on your day-to-day and I guess what you do at Impressive?
Yeah, sure. So my day-to-day is generally going to be connecting with the clients that we have, which is current and more so new people that are looking for a strategy to improve their business. And in normal times, there's many of them, and now times there's not as many because not everybody can actually improve their business. So there are those who are lucky enough to be able to take advantage of the climate, still market online. And then there are those that, maybe needed to change their business a little bit to be able to actually get that cut through, which, classic example is restaurants delivering and making their local community aware of that. So at the moment, it is day in, day out a bit of problem solving, really. Like the people that we're talking to is trying to figure out either how they can change their business model slightly to be able to still communicate with customers, or it's how can we really improve the message that we're currently using and better purpose our budget. For some things that have more of a long-term strategy where they're investing, they're shoveling that budget into other components that are more short-term on a corona impact campaign, let's call it. So so it's really interesting. Some of it's a bit challenging to hear because for some people they're quite stressed, and I really understand that. It's their livelihood. Otherwise, some people are also really positive and really excited. So, it's quite an interesting time to be communicating with people, and it feels good.
I've seen a lot of value. I'm just going to jump in here. So I'm part of the the accounts management team. So I deal with clients on a day-to-day basis as well, and kind of goes hand in hand with what Sam's saying in the sense that it's like we're revisiting the foundations of what a brand is built on. So like who we're targeting, what value we're actually bringing to customers, and how we can help them in this time and like add value. So I've seen a lot of proactive activity, and they seem to be the best performing at the moment. Some are like, obviously for some businesses, it's really difficult when businesses are shutting down, or, you know, they have to change their business model, like Sam said. But I'm finding that we're able to assist them with that shift and sort of pivoting into how can we still reach these consumers in smart ways, like geolocating, so changing targeting tactics. Retention is really large at the moment as well, just because brand loyalty is huge, and I guess humanizing the messaging that we're going out to market with and making customers, I guess, increasing brand trust, and just being sympathetic and I guess humanizing, your messaging, so that you're actually connecting with consumers, because everyone's going through the same thing, right? So
absolutely. Look, and you've touched on it a couple of times there around humanizing the message. You know, like I think, and I know, I mean, you guys would know this. We recently, towards the end of last year, did a talk with HubSpot and Google on personalizing the customer experience, and it's like now more than ever, this is so critical, right? Because where brands are investing a lot of time and money into acquisition, that's most likely not going to pay a lot of dividends for a lot of businesses now, right? So they need to focus on keeping their customers from, you know, to themselves, rather than for them jumping ship and going to anybody else. And the way to do that is to really personalize that overall customer journey, rather than just spamming an entire database with the same message or the same newsletter. It needs to be highly personalized and targeted to ensure that high retention rate, which is what you spoke about before, Leash.
Yeah, I've also seen in terms of like the e-commerce space, another issue which a few of our clients are experiencing is that wholesale people who purchase their products in bulk are no longer doing that. So they're sort of cutting off ties, and because large department stores and things are shutting down, a lot of clients are being impacted by that, because they've now got excess stock, which is another issue. So we've got some clients with supply issues and some with, and now an excess demand of stock.
Yes.
And we're sort of helping them come up with strategies around how we can push that stock. And one that I think is a really good strategy for anyone who's having issues with cash flow at the moment is being able to promote gift cards. Gift cards and pre-orders, because customers will still need the products that you're selling. It might not be right now, but if we can get them in the mind frame of still being able to, you know, lock down exclusive items, purchasing gift cards, because people are still having birthdays and events. It's sad that no one can attend them, but they shouldn't be forgotten. So that's some messaging that we've been working on with our customers, or clients, I should say, around still being able to celebrate, and I guess sharing uplifting messaging around gift cards. And I know
we've done a lot of celebrations. You know, we still have our virtual beer o'clock at 4 o'clock every Friday. You know, as I was mentioning earlier on the chat, you know, we had our boot camp on Zoom this morning. So I know, back to, I guess, to your point, Sam, around pivoting, you know, businesses are now forced to adjust the way that they carry on, well, the way that they conduct their business, right? So we have to find new and innovative ways of going on about our business on a day-to-day basis. And, you know, something you touched on again, Leash, you know, is around, you know, social, and just the amount of media that's being consumed at the moment by consumers. So although, you know, consumer confidence is down, you know, a lot of us are still sitting at home. Some people are bored out of their brains. They don't know what to do. And because of boredom, they end up, you know, purchasing items. So we've seen, I mean, recently I was just checking out the CPMs on social, and they're probably the lowest that I've seen in years, right? Over like maybe 6-7 years. So I think it's a really good opportunity for us as marketers, and for our listeners as well, to take the opportunity, right? And get something in market as far as, you know, how they can capitalize, I guess, on the opportunity, look in the positives.
Yeah, because with all that extra time, people still will easily be brought into buying something. You know, like it's another time where you sit at home and you're around your house so much that you actually start to think about the things that you don't have or the things that you may need. Like I've been doing it myself. Like I need to get on to getting that done, or I'm needing to do that. So I think from marketing your products and putting them out in front of people, like that positive outward go ahead is still really, really important. Like one customer we have who's coming in there, they've literally doubled their marketing spend because they are so sure that the audience needs to be finding their products now. And that's a sign of someone being extremely positive in a difficult situation, but knowing that I need to put my brand out even more than it was before, because I need now more than ever for people to be able to see it to continue buying. And of course, there's the classic thought behind that they're just building up a new customer base, new customer loyalty from bringing in new customers now. So when the whole climate does sort of start to trickle to an end, they've got a new customer base who are in their database who they can now market to for the rest of the days, rather than if they went the other way, which they were going to or thinking about, and pulling back, they would have none of that positivity and no business growth whatsoever and be sitting stagnant wondering, when do we turn things back on, all the while just losing money and getting into a dark place. Yeah. I think that's a dangerous trick to get into.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned there around like database growth, like, and this, I'll just open this up to both of you, right? Like, what are some ideas for some of our listeners around like building the database or growing the database? And I'm not going to refer to it as hacks because I absolutely hate that word. But what's some of the ideas that you guys have seen and some of the concepts that you've sort of implemented around growing the customer base?
Oh, well, that's going to be, I mean, anyone's going to be able to do some pretty quick wins with their website, right? And place different ways to be able to give value or give information to somebody when someone arrives on the website. You should be still getting traffic, right? I assume most businesses are still getting some form of traffic. And
I think that's an important one just to touch on quickly is in terms of traffic. There's lots of conversations going around should I switch off my SEO right now? And that's a long-term strategy, and if anything should probably be left on at a time like this, because there are lots of brands thinking that and lots are switching it off. So you've actually got an opportunity now to sort of capitalize on that and build your authority so that when you come out on the other end, you've gained a really strong position, and it's harder to sort of get back up there. Sorry, Sam.
No, that's all right. As the great Winston Churchill said, never let a good crisis go to waste. Take advantage of everybody else's failings. It's okay. But being able to have places where people can access things about your product or just some casual reading, some stuff that's going to provide value and make them understand why maybe they might interact with you. Maybe now's not the time to buy, but maybe you can give something free. You know, certainly if there's any kind of coupons or anything like that you can offer that would make people sign up to your database. Those are going to be the quick wins to generate more.
So offer something basically
in the short term.
So would you say it's offering something that the competitors aren't? You know, and I guess I'm probably thinking here more around like what other services or value adds or you know, resources, whatever it may be, that the competitor isn't necessarily offering the customer. That can add value to them and their business.
Yeah, 100%. Like, what is the reason why people are going to buy off you? I mean, it may end up that you just get the sale then and there anyway, but like, it doesn't have to be a discount. You know, it's not.
I've got a good example of one like that, where you're saying it doesn't have to be something that's actually a discount, but we've got an interior design client who usually would operate out of a showroom. But obviously the showroom's shut down at the moment and they can't have people going through there. So we've turned more to online and we're depending on the online channels to drive consultations and I guess lead generation for them. And we've had some really interesting conversations around, you know, rather than revamping the whole website and changing, because obviously they've got to shift and change their whole business model, which is quite a large thing for them to do. And it's pretty overwhelming too. So we've spoken about, you know, creating simple landing pages that speak to the customer on maybe just pick one product that you want to target how are we going to target those customers? Can we do, online consultations or on the phone consultations, things and ways that you can still connect with those people that don't require them going in store. Like there's so many different ideas around that. So that's, yeah.
Absolutely. And then I was just thinking, like you as a restaurant, you've got Victoria partner was talking about yoga, and her yoga crew are doing free videos and stuff. So you are getting people to give their email address and your name and information to access the free content. Or if you're a restaurant or something, surely you could do some cooking shows and give people, if you want to sign up to do cooking shows, there's a cooking show every night at 6:00 or something like that. Cook a new recipe. Like we've all of a sudden we've all found like we've got 2 or 3 hours extra time in our day, stuff that we didn't have before. So we're looking for ways to fill it. Exercise is obviously one, but you can only exercise so much, and I don't want to do that all day. But these are ways that you can be creative to think about. How do we offer value? How do we reach out to more people? Or how do we get people to engage with us? And just those little things like the exercise and the PT and doing it all online. It's a new way of looking like, how do I use video to connect with customers? So yeah, a few ways, but database is great because it's a long-term community plan that you can leverage off.
Yeah, absolutely, guys, and obviously social is a pretty hot topic at the moment. As I mentioned before, we've seen the stats around engagement on social media is up like 76%, and just the amount of media consumption has just gone through the roof. So just for our viewers and our listeners, what can we do as marketers or as e-com brands to I guess bring to engage with our community and integrate that into our overall marketing strategy? So Alisha, this is probably more I guess a question for you, because just the number of clients that you deal with in this space. So what have you seen as some of the ideas and some of the tactics around leveraging social in this in this time?
There's a couple of different ways depending on the business and the business model, but in terms of e-commerce, I've seen a lot of success around running sales for any underperforming products. So products that you want to push. And then possibly putting a couple of current collection items in there as well. So it doesn't look like just a stock standard sale that consumers get used to as well. Seen amazing success with that. That's been over just the last week that we've run about 4 or 5 of those different campaigns, and they've been, I think one of them generated over 3 days about $91,000. So that people are still buying. I think it's more about how we're going to market, and sales seem to be performing well, and I've done a lot of research around that too. And I think across globally, we're seeing brands turning to that right now. But not sales that we just leave on all the time. They're more strategic. So sales for stock that you need to move. So that's one tactic. Another one is adapting the messaging. So back to what Sam said, email marketing and loyalty. So building like loyalty programs. I guess now's the time where this is one of those things that people sort of push to in their backlog as one of the last things to do. But now is the time to be bringing in those customers that you have already purchased from you, making them feel like you're there for them, you're supporting them, and that they're still aligned with I guess the customers, and showing them what you stand for, I guess, as a brand. That's true. I'd suggest email automation, and maybe even I've seen lots of good messaging, including personalized messages from the CEOs of companies and things like that.
Yeah, I think incorporating messages around like the brand values, and I think this is probably a really good time now for a lot of brands to revisit. What are the unique selling propositions? What are their brand values? Why do they exist? Revisiting unique selling points. Because as I mentioned earlier, there's no doubt about it. It's going to be tough for the next probably 3 to 6 months on a global scale. So if you really don't find unique selling point, you're just going to be the same as everybody else, right? And you will lose clients. So I think it's very important for a lot of brands now to just go back and revisit, who are they, what do they stand for, and think about that, that community that they are building through a database or through social. What are the sort of workflows that they've got running at the moment? What are the welcome messages? What are the post-purchase emails? I know when, working with a lot of brands in the e-com space around like the email automation, a lot of them are just like a monthly newsletter and maybe an abandoned cart strategy. And that's about as far as it goes. So I think just a bit of value for our listeners, we've got a stack of, I guess our email strategy that we use for a lot of our clients, which I might, if you guys don't mind, just go through. But I think now the first one that I would be focusing on a lot is the list growth. So, we know in times like this, a database is going to deteriorate by about 20 to 25%, right? So, I'd be arguing, well, what are you doing about it? How are you increasing that database so you're not losing a lot of emails? So looking at, what are the lead magnets? What are the discount codes? What is the free shipping? I know although this free shipping is a bit of just shipping in general on a global scale is a bit of an issue, but there are ways around it, and DHL and Australia Post have got strategies in place for all of that. What are the pop-up messages? What does that say? Is it personalized? Is it not? Looking at the welcome series, once they actually enter the database, what sort of communication are we sending out to them? And I'm a big fan of creating a little workflow there that's made up of like 5 to 8 emails over a 2 to 3 week period. And really it's about getting them to engage with the brand and getting them to make the first purchase.
Influencers is a...
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Rob. I was just going to say influencers is another one we can maybe touch on after as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, and it all sort of ties into this, right? It's all more of an integrated approach rather than just letting all the channels work in silos. I'll just finish quickly on the email strategy that I've got here, and looking at, if a customer does actually buy, what is that new customer thank you series, which I find a lot of brands don't do. So they get the purchase and that's it. They forget about their customer. So I generally recommend 1 to 2 emails before they actually receive the product, and then 3 to 4 after they receive the product. And really just getting them to encourage referrals and reviews and social shares, getting them to engage with different loyalty programs, or, getting them to make a repeat purchase. I think now is the time to really communicate, as I mentioned before, the brand values and that we're in this together to ensure that database doesn't deteriorate. But yeah, Alisha, you touched on influencers there. What have you seen work really well over the last couple of weeks in that space? Influencers generally work really well for a lot of, specifically like a lot of our e-commerce clients. But specifically, I'm talking more from a point where they're really great to utilize to be able to expand and reach a whole heap of people. And right now, when people are sitting at home and they're on social media a lot more, we know that from looking at stats at the moment as well. You've got a real opportunity there to engage them. And there's a few things that are sort of trending at the moment, which everyone's probably seen, but there's a lot of these challenges going on. So a lot of brands are actually coming up with those themselves. We're working on one at the moment with a brand that sells nuts. And we're looking at, doing a challenge, like how many nuts, possibly like some sort of a fitness challenge that incorporates fitness and, healthy eating. Things like that. Going back to that messaging, like people are at home, so it's understanding where we're talking to where the person is and what they're doing. So is it maybe heaps of people are on Zoom and things like that at the moment too? Is it that people are dressing up for their morning meeting, or sticking with routines, or, single people are still out trying to date, I guess. Isolation isn't the greatest thing for them right now, but they are still jumping on these online platforms and wanting to, it sounds silly, but
anything for
there
love.
Is something in it. Yeah. But it's just more about talking to what these people are doing. So understanding your audience and I guess shaping your messaging around that.
Yeah,
And
guys, we've had
also,
from.
I think.
Sorry, son.
Sorry, I was just going to say, also think about, like, obviously budgets are something that people consider. So making sure that you do have a flexible payment arrangement for people and letting them know that you do have it. So, if you are posting stuff or you have it on your website, make sure it's displayed, that there are facilities that people can take advantage of. And if you're in a service-based scenario, then maybe in these kind of times, you can stagger the way that things are paid out. It doesn't have to be maybe so stringent yourself as well. So it can work either way, but I certainly think making things accessible to people and understanding that the climate everyone's in will also drive some really good customer loyalty, because of the fact that you had empathy in a time like this.
Yeah, and it's actually a good segue into a question that came from one of our listeners, Justin, and he mentioned, like this, it's really good points, guys, around like e-commerce and product-based businesses, but what about the service industry and service providers? And I guess you could say, like, this is very close to us, right? I mean, we're a service business, and just to be, open and transparent about it, I mean, one of the reasons why we put this webinar together is to add value to our database, and B, to other customers out there that need a bit of a helping hand. So, to answer that question, I would say it's value, value, value. Like, we've made a lot of changes internally as a business. I'm sure you guys are aware, and for our listeners as well, just to be very transparent, we've moved our retainers now to being very flexible retainers. It's no longer about, this is what you're paying for each month for this particular service. We've just opened up our service offering and said, like, let us help you. And if a client is spending, say $2,000 a month or $3,000 a month or, $20,000 a month, we're doing probably double the amount of work to try and add as much value and help them through this, through the next stages. Look, I'm not going to probably sugarcoat this. The reality is in service-based and e-commerce, we're going to lose clients and we're going to lose customers. It's just the reality, right? But I think the ones that actually, stick and fight this war that we're in, pretty much what I'm calling it, add as much value as they can to their clients, get closer to their clients like never before, try and help them along the way. And it doesn't even have to be about what service you're offering, but anything outside of that scope. Like, I'm doing a lot of, a bit of consulting at the moment with a few businesses that have reached out and said, like, Rob, what are some of your challenges that you've gone through, and how have you overcome them? And I welcome anybody to send me an email or give me a phone call. It's no bullshit. It's no obligation. I'm not trying to sell anything. It's just, I think we're all in this together, and we need to help each other get through the next, few months, and come out strong on the other end. So, what I would recommend is, again, for service-based businesses, get across your database. And I know, Leash, this probably is very relevant to you because you manage some of our top clients. So now is the time to really evaluate the relationship, see what value you can add, and just be there along the way and help them along. Would you agree, Sam, from your point?
100%. I think as well, leveraging your network, like, get talking to people. Like, everyone is going through challenges, but brainstorming is a beautiful thing. And so if you've got networks around, because we do have more time on our hands, we've got to be busy, and it's sort of a time where, to make sure that we keep moving, the workload needs to double a little bit. It's not that you can sit back and just think, oh, well, I can work my normal hours and hope for the best. It's really to put that leverage in. And if it's not that you're not working on your job in the day-to-day, then maybe you're organizing yourself some sort of community chat group or something that you can share ideas, because only one person needs to come up with a good idea that can really help another person, and when you're sitting inside of your business trying to rack your brains, then it's very difficult to be able to just say, oh, well, there it is. There's the big orange I couldn't see over there. As where somebody else just looking in who also thinks about a business that has maybe similar kind of mechanisms or similar customer base, but a different business, may be able to share that little bit of gold that just enlightens you. So I think that, yes, working in the business and trying to really hustle and make everything happen is very important, but also just looking out to support and talking with people, because one, it alleviates some of the stress because you can share some of the challenges and see that others are going through it too. But you can also have people give that feedback, and a lot of the conversations I'm having are in that kind of a nature. What would you do is normally the question. So, and for me, I talk to many businesses across lots of different verticals. So often I can easily pluck out something where I'm like, oh, have you tried something like that? So I think it's definitely something that people need to think about. Like, where are these small business communities? What can I do on LinkedIn? Put up a post, talk to your community, organize a little hangout, try and get people to attend. And if you don't have a very good community, then work on your LinkedIn community a little bit as well. Try and get some
and
connections.
like utilizing the people that you do have within your own network as well. So like if you've got say 30 employees, there's 30 opportunities there to help spread your message as well. So like this is a perfect example. We're doing a webinar and all of us have shared that because we want to connect with everyone, but it's kind of like you can look in and see what you've got there to use and then think of smart strategies to push that out to market as well.
Absolutely, guys. We've got a couple of questions here. Number one is from Reese. So thank you, mate. His question is, what about larger investments, right? So Reese works for a small to medium builder, and he's asking, is now the time to focus on things like brand positioning, content, and SEO? I could probably spend about, I don't know, the next 3 hours talking about this, Reese. So I might just throw that over to you, Sam, because I know that you'd love to answer that question. The second part to it is, with the consumer confidence actually being so low, how can we position how can they position themselves to ensure that they're front of mind when this whole mess that we're in is over? So Sam, do you want to answer that one for us?
Yeah, sure. I think that it's a good question, and it's a very topical question because the point of brand positioning is super important, especially in this time where you still want your brand to be front of mind. And with a small to medium builder, mate, like how many people would be sitting around the house thinking about things they need to do if you're doing any renovations, or the people that are planning for that build that they're going to do, that they're moving into? Like, I feel like there's a lot of people looking inward at the moment about what life is and what they're doing and changes they're making. So making sure that the brand is positioned well is important, and content and SEO is something that you would use as a lever to be able to springboard off the back of this. So depending on what your, where your location is, what your sort of terms that you want to rank for are, and being smart about what you're trying to go after, then SEO is a good strategy, not just as a long term, but even as a midterm kind of thing. Like, I mean, we're talking 6 months, right? 6 months is a relative term to say when people might be back up and hustling. At least that's what people are saying. So a lot can happen from an SEO campaign in 6 months if you're targeting the right kind of terms.
And the reality is a lot of, like Reese, your competitors are probably holding back right now on their marketing spend. Like for me, we doubled our marketing spend in this current climate, right? So while every other agency is taking their foot off the pedal, I'm actually putting more money in to get out there and actually start taking more of the market and increasing our market share. So if you were to ask me, and this is just me taking my marketing hat off and putting my business one on, now is an opportunity for me to overtake the competitors. So if you've got the funds and the investment, be wise with it, be smart with it, and invest it in the right places. And I can almost guarantee that you'll come out pretty strong at the other end.
And the key is being smart about it, not just going for the big Hail Mary and thinking that's going to be the way. Being quite strategic and thought out about the things that you really want to be known for, the things that you really want to be doing, and what you really want that business of yours to look like on the other side of this. Like, how do you want the brand positioning to be? Because now's that time to sort of build it up in the background and leverage that springboard that we talk about at the end of it, to be able to go like, all right, cool. Now that I've done this foundation work of building up a little bit more organic strength, you could look into other channels, but everything's going to support as one. So now you've actually got quite a good foundation and can really sort of leverage that work and boom into 2021.
Absolutely. All right, we've just got a few questions here, guys. So I'm just cautious of time. So, question from Michael. So Michael works at state trustees. They provide services that relate to end of life situations like wills and power of attorneys and the Seas to States. So Michael's questions around like how should they be communicating and marketing and addressing some of these services in the current crisis. So do we have any suggestions? Maybe Alisha, I'll throw that over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that one's obviously, it's being sensitive, and again, going back to that, being sympathetic to what people are experiencing right now. So definitely large focus on brand messaging there with that type of product. And also, I think brand awareness. So not pushing, like I said, no hard messaging, no really, really strong call to actions, but more soft marketing where you're showcasing what you've got to offer and how you can help. So again, talking to the consumer, adding value, and I guess going back to that, we're here to support you, not here to try and benefit and capitalize on a situation like this. I think that's probably key at this point.
Trying to get the consumer to buy into their brand. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
Rather than go to tactical level and sell services and products, leave it very high level and get them to actually buy into the brand and build the brand equity. So when they are ready and we do come out of this crisis, that you're top of mind when it comes to those services.
Absolutely. And not instilling fear in people at a time like this when people are already fearful and cautious about what, I guess, the economy and the market is doing. You don't want to be that person. So yeah, just goes back to that messaging.
Yeah. Awesome. So Michael, hope that sort of answered the question. And for everybody out there that's also got more questions, I mean, there's a few more here that I'll go through. Feel free to shoot us an email or obviously give us a call. Happy to help. Next one is from Ashley. So Ash's suggestions. So stuck in having all these thoughts. So all these thoughts and some really great ideas. However, resources are limited. All of these tasks feel like a mammoth task. So any suggestions around sort of tackling some of these ideas and some of these resources? Guys, the government is giving out a bunch of cash at the moment, right? The most recent one was, I think $5,000, Sam. Correct me if I'm wrong with that one.
Yeah, that was a Melbourne government, local government.
Yeah,
grant
$5,000, which you can use for digital. You can use that however way you like, whether it's they're calling it a digital marketing grant, which we can send the link to as well in this chat. So we can help you apply for it. We can help you spend it, no problem. So that would probably alleviate some of the work, so you don't have to do it yourself. You can engage someone like us. You don't have to pay for it, and the government will basically fund it.
Yeah, and I think that the next part of a question there is, in the end, she's not moving forward with things because she can't focus. Like it's a massively common thing, Ashley. Everybody feels overwhelmed. You don't know where to start, but working yourself out a list that has the most difficult task that you need to solve at the top, and every little thing that's leading back to that and working backwards, so that you can plot back, and then you've got one task to complete at a time because you've written all the things down. I mean, your main one up the top is going to be to generate sales or business or whatever it is, probably. Might be something else, but you need to work backwards and think all the things that you could do to be able to do that. And if you spend half a day committed to just working out that list, then all of a sudden you will have written it out in front of you, and you'll be able to then work back one at a time, and that list will seem very it'll take a lot of weight off your shoulders, and you'll be able to have small wins which will make you feel better, feel a little bit alleviated from stress, and you'll gain momentum and get more done. But if you don't have that pathway and you're just trying to think, what one should I focus on, it's going to be confusing and certainly overwhelming. So get yourself a good to-do list, and work back from the number one biggest challenge that you've got to fix.
Yeah, so some of our listeners are asking, where's the link? We'll share it in a second, guys. I'm actually just trying to find it as we speak. And how does it work? We can help you actually apply for it. We've got it pretty much down pat as far as what you need to do and how you get the money. So for anyone that's that wants a hand with it, we'll obviously send a link. But if you want a hand to just fast track it, just reach out and we can take you through it. Question here is, I have a business in the dreaded travel retail space. Sales in both B2C and B2B have completely dried up. Christine, they want to pivot to address the quarantine and isolation market during this time without appearing tone deaf and also without negativity around the brand. Any thoughts around that one, team?
I think, again, first thing that comes to my mind is gift cards, possibly, or vouchers. If it's looking to be, maybe you can start
Travel
targeting
vouchers,
people who are looking for a gift. Because like I said, people are going to want to travel again eventually. It might not be now, but maybe it's changing the terms and conditions on how long someone can spend a gift card for, and making sure that the audience, you let them know that as well, that you've expanded. Maybe it's now valid for 2 years or something like that.
Yeah, so it's good. Sam, I'll direct this next question to you. How do you go about creating urgency without making clients feel pressured or sounding like a pitch?
It's a really good question. It's a good question. I mean, to me, it would come quite naturally in what I do anyway. So the way that I would go about trying to present something to someone is never really to pitch it to them anyway. Like, although I might be selling someone something, my idea is that, I have to identify why they can't live without it. Like my idea is to create so much value and common sense within the purchase that they're going to make, that there's you need to get this now. Of course, urgency is something that you can create. The person should be creating for themselves. They should be feeling like, well, I need to get this going now.
Yes.
So by really looking at why did they contact you in the first place? Why did they have that problem that you were solving, and what is it that solves, and what will it alleviate in the short term, would pretty quickly help them to guide them along the decision. Urgency in this time is slightly different. Like, creating urgency in this time is slightly different because there are other factors at play. So I would definitely be saying, or finding out, what are the other factors that are going to hold you up from doing this, so you can address them one by one and show how that doesn't need to be. They don't need to be things that are going to hold back that decision, because any reason that someone's not buying in today's market is simply due to fear, right? Like fear of it not working.
Absolutely.
Fear of it.
It's the uncertainty,
right?
Yeah.
So I would definitely say that make sure you're not trying to pitch it, and if you're not trying to pitch it and you create a lot of value and trust, then you're going to move someone through that journey rather than making it feel like it's urgency.
Yeah.
Which isn't always easy.
So for our viewers, I've shared 2 links. One is the Queensland grant and one is the Victorian grant. I'm just trying to find you actually the others as we speak. So feel free to go through those links, reach out if you need a hand with it. We're here to help. Do you have any other questions at the moment? I think we've pretty much gone through. Oh no, we've got one more here. So question is, what things would you suggest not to do in these critical times? I might actually take that one, Hugo. So I would suggest, and this is going to sound very contradicting, but don't sell anything. Try not to sell. Back to Sam's point, now is a time to be educating, adding a lot of value, and if that results into a sale, great. But if you're going to go out there and start selling products and services to consumers and to businesses, it's not going to work, right? I've had my LinkedIn at the moment, I'm getting absolutely hammered by software companies and a whole bunch of different organizations and different verticals and industries trying to sell me stuff. And it's not working. It's actually started to piss me off, because I'm sitting here trying to rescue my business, to ensure that my employees are getting paid, that they're not getting laid off. And on the other hand, I've got businesses trying to flog me products and services that I don't even need. They're not adding any value to my business. There's no context. So I think one of the things that I would suggest not to do right now is, just don't try and sell anything and flog products just to hit a target, because the business that you're working in is not hitting their numbers. I said, sorry, Sam.
Sorry, mate. You're also setting some stuff up for later. This will end, and most businesses, if we play our cards right, we trim the fat where we can, and look at being running on a skeleton if that's what we need to do to survive. All of those customers, and I've had quite a few of them that just they've had to, and these are big businesses, they're not small businesses, they're big businesses, and they've had to say, hey, look, right now we've got to put the pause, and we're right at the point of being able to go forward. Now that to me and to the business would have been a big thing that I could have tried to squeeze it and make it work and so on and so on, but it would have soured the relationship probably in what was already a stressful time. But now I know, because I haven't, and I can nurture that relationship over the next few months. As soon as they get the green light, we still have that going. We still have that there, and we can capitalize later, which means that we'll continue to come out of the gates quite quickly, as opposed to burning things because we're trying to sell it and squeeze people.
It's also important to double check any messaging that might already be automated too, because consumers are still getting that. And if it's not addressing the current situation and almost comes across as, say, ignorant, it's probably not going to be very successful either.
Yeah, agreed. Guys, we'll take one last question because I'm just cautious of time. And this one is around any ideas to create brand awareness and adding value at a very low budget, I guess, to the brand. I guess my answer to that is creating content, right? Now, you can there's so many different, there's a plethora of different channels out there that you can distribute content and create content. I know myself, I'm adding a lot of value through my LinkedIn at the moment to my community through video content. That's naturally raising my own personal brand and also Impressive's brand and building up that brand equity in such a time like this. And it is adding a lot of value to my community, right? So, I get LinkedIn messages all the time. Rob, can you talk about this topic or that topic? Can you address this? I had one come to me this morning and say, like, there's so many different pieces of software at the moment to communicate. And the person that asked the question was like, Rob, I don't know. Do I go to Slack? Do I use Zoom? Do I use Google Hangouts? Do I use, what do I use? So even just a simple question like that, I'm going to address later this afternoon on, some of the tools that I use and what I'm a fan of and what I like and what I don't like. I'm not biased to any of them. So I think that's a way to creating value and increasing that brand awareness to my community and to, oh, hello, my little kid just rocked up of nowhere, to the community and building up the brand awareness. So that's one for me. Sam, you got anything?
Sandwich boards on the freeway. Yeah, the old-fashioned one. Man, it's probably similar to what you're saying. Effective ways on a low budget would be boosting on social. Like you can target and boost, and it doesn't cost anywhere much as running ad campaigns to put the message out there. But certainly, I think you still have to use those paid channels and just looking at how you can do it on a shoestring and being really smart about it. That would be my one thing, and of course just continuing to use your database and figure out how you can grow it a little bit.
Maybe even teaming up with other brands that you might
that's a great one,
see some value in as well, because they're probably in the same position, and if you can team up and utilize both and I guess cross-sell across different networks, that's a good idea too.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I guess that's probably concludes all the questions that I have. So just, I guess, some of my final thoughts, we're in a period of uncertainty. Just try and, this is going to bring out a different behavior in business. It's going to bring out different behaviors in people. So, try and find the opportunity to prove to existing customers that you actually care. And as I said, try not to sell anything, try and add value and educate them and be there along with them along the way. It's time to really just own it, nurture those relationships with your existing customers and continue to create meaningful connections. So any last words from you, Sam or Alisha?
Man, just stay positive. Just, the keys to stay positive. Like there are so many ways we can fix any challenges that we have. There are so many people to lean on. I've spoken to lots of people where there's been no business outcome for Impressive, but it's still, for me, it's just helping someone. And most people are happy to give their time because empathy is a big thing and everybody understands the situation that we're all in. So, just reach out, be positive, and like anything, this will end, and stay home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's actually brought, I believe it's actually brought the entire world closer, right? We now have one common, well, call it an issue, right? But we've got one common denominator that we're all trying to fight through and trying to win over. So it's brought everyone very, very, very close. And I think that's a huge positive for me personally. Leash?
No, I guess I'm kind of the same as Sam. I think stay as positive as you can. There's always something you can do. Whether your business doesn't seem like, it's, a shop's shut down or you've got too much stock to sell. There's always something you can do. It's just about the way that you do it and just be smart about it.
Yeah. Totally agree. So thank you to everyone. I will share it. In the comments there is the Queensland and Victorian grant. I'll find the New South Wales one and South Australia and the rest of the country. I'll share that as well. Feel free to jump on our website, give us a call. We're here to help. As I said, we're not here to try and sell you anything. If we can add any value, if you want to engage us for any services, again, like our pricing is obviously reduced again, and this is not a plug. This is just purely just to try and assist where we can. So, have a great day and stay positive. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.